In the last video, Sal was asked, what will he do to Alan? What am I planning to do? Sal ponders. In a deep tone, he says, in my previous life, I paid the price of my life to steal back everything that belonged to me. And in this life, I am simply returning the favor. Alan's yell was heard by the guards and his mother standing outside the hall. The thought of what might have happened to him made his mother anxious. A full moon night at the Cooper family's castle followed the oath-taking ceremony. Alan's mother, the matriarch of the Cooper family, was sitting on his side inside his room. The butler briefed her about Alan's condition, saying, Madam, the young master's body is fine. He fainted temporarily because of excess magic use. He further says, as for the soundproof spell, it was because of the servant's incompetence that the spell broke. I have sent that person to be executed. In a cold voice, the matriarch said, feed the corpse to the dogs. The butler replied, but madam, the young master seems unsettled. After all, he's young, and to do this kind of thing, it's inevitable that there will be a burden on the heart. While Alan was lost in thoughts, he doesn't remember what happened at the oath-taking ceremony. Concerned about Alan, the mother put a hand on his head. In a comforting tone, the mother said, Alan, you don't have to feel troubled by the shadows. The strong prey upon the weak in this work, and you are. Alan interrupted and pushed her hand off his head and said, how is this possible? A dark face spreads across his face as he says, I am the future head of the Cooper family. Those wretched creatures should be born to sacrifice their lives for me. Right, mother? His mother laughed and happily hugged him. She asked if there is any reward you want, let me know. Sal Cooper was listening to all the nonsense from the balcony. He remarks, what a deep bond between a mother and a son. But what a shame. From this day forth, Alan Cooper has become my shadow. When he recalls his previous life, he mentions, when I fought for the family, I discovered a blood magic index that had a record of shadow oath. I happily presented it to the family, but I didn't expect myself to become the family's sacrifice. I was fortunate that I looked through the book contents and combined that with the experience of stealing back my power in my previous life. Right now, I just need to use a little blood as a cost to reverse the shadow oath and swap the position of Alan and myself. This 3-year-old me is completely incapable of resisting them. From now on, I must become stronger. With fearless eyes filled with passion for his revenge, he further deduced, and so, the first step to becoming stronger is the flaming cliff. This is the Cooper family's testing ground, created by the Cooper family to select strong shadows willing to sacrifice themselves for the family. He further mentions, it is similar to how Prometheus stole the flame for humankind and willingly sacrificed himself, enduring the pecks of the eagle day and night. The Cooper family also threw this group of children, 10 years old and below, into the flaming cliff. They ordered them to trek through the thorns and commanded the eagles to gnaw on their flesh. Even with their final breaths, they are not allowed to give up. Until the first shadow scaled the peak and obtained the blessings of the eagle griffin. He received a body that will never be injured, no matter how many times it is attacked or pecked. Enjoying the journey so far? Make sure to subscribe and hit that like button to keep the adventure going. All right, let's dive back into the story. One day later, a guy with a bow instructs a bunch of kids, you only have 3 days left. Whatever method you boys use, there is only one objective, and that is to reach the peak alive. This man's name was Enos Walker, the Shadows training officer. Switching his tone from instruction to evil maniac, he says, don't forget, whoever forfeits will be sentenced to death after 3 days. As he raises the whistle, he yells, all right, Shadows, set off for your bright future. Every kid standing there starts running as soon as he blows the whistle. But the officer was shocked to see that a silver-haired kid named Sal Cooper was quite composed despite the fact that his life depends on it. The assistant instructor tells him, this is Sal, the illegitimate son who angered the young master. Sal, with his bare hands, starts to climb the cliff. Looking at this scene, both officers laugh, saying, look at this kid! He didn't take the slope, but instead his is trying to reach the peak by climbing with his bare hands. I bet he will fall before even reaching the halfway mark. The assistant makes another comment. Why don't we go over to collect his corpse now? The officer denies his idea with a smile of evil excitement. No need. I suddenly thought of a fascinating idea. Now is the perfect time for that guy to show up. Under the bloody sky, a griffin was spotted flying over the cliff. The kids who were climbing the cliff were stunned to see his appearance. All of them could not fathom what it was. But when they got close to it, one of them said, "It's a monster." Sal had finally reached the top of the mountain. In front of him was a huge griffin and a pile of children's corpses. The officer standing below decided to use the griffin to get rid of Sal, as he was the one who had angered Alan. The officer was so excited and aimed his bow at the griffin, saying, "Let's make the young master happy." He released the arrow, and at a high speed it gazed at the griffin's face, making the griffin furious. As the griffin only saw Sal in front of him, he attacked to kill Sal Cooper. Sal dodged his attack and used his knife to defend himself. Sal mentions that the only way to quickly scale to the peak and obtain the griffin's blessing is to tame it. He jumps on the griffin to attack. Sal stabs the griffin on the head, then jumps back and anticipates. Griffins are stubborn creatures by nature and possess human-like intelligence. If I don't completely subdue it, it will never be tamed. As he ran towards the griffin, he unleashed a sword technique called Shadow Blade. But the griffin did not take much damage and countered Sal's attack. Griffin unleashes the tornado attack on Sal. Sal was about to fall down the cliff, but somehow he grabbed on and climbed back. Then, Sal took a moment to think about what strategy to use, stating that with my current physique and strength, I will be blown away before I even get close to the griffin. Luckily, there's a solution, as long as I reach that cave. While Sal looked at the cave, the griffin prepared to attack again with his powerful wind energy. After evading all his attacks, Sal runs towards the cave. Suddenly, he realized he wasn't going to dodge this attack. He used the griffin's wind attack to get closer to the cave, and he activated the Shadow Oath to keep the damage to a minimum. Due to the Shadow Oath, Alan, who was peacefully drinking his tea, dropped his cup and fainted. Using his strategy, Sal was able to reach the cave entrance successfully. He ran inside the cave while Griffin chased him, saying, "Little Loach, there's no way to run." However, he suddenly stopped, baffled by the scene. Sal held the baby griffin in his hands and pointed his knife at it. The griffin asks, "What will you do to my baby?" Sal replies, "Relax, I won't hurt it." Sal proposes the offer to help his wingless baby fly. But of course he has a condition. While waiting for Sal to die, the two officers start walking towards the cave to collect his body. But suddenly the griffin appears behind them with Sal riding on it. "All right, it's payback time," Sal says. The griffin, without wasting any moment, attacked and swallows both of them. After that, Griffin says to Sal, "I've done what I promised. Now it's your turn to fulfill your end of the deal." Sal asks Griffin to bring him to the secret realm at the northernmost of this mountain range, to the land of stone. Both of them stood before the huge stone gate. Before entering, Griffin mentions, "As we agreed, you will only take the sword of Prometheus and help me get Medusa's blood to cure my child." "Sure, no problem," Sal remarks. However, Sal was not aiming for a sword, nor was he trying to help the griffin in any way. What he wanted was the griffin to destroy the secret realm. Griffin pushed the door open, revealing a snake-headed woman inside. Both of them moved forward to face her.